Unlike these guys, it's not my first feature. It's my third. The last one was my third. I come from a small town in Maharashtra called Aurangabad, and my exposure to films was pretty much hardcore Bollywood throughout. My uncle had a video cassette library, and
Interesting.
that was my kind of first.
Tarantino.
Yeah,
First-
Tarantino, Ram Gopal Verma, Madhur Bhandarkar, quite a few of them
Yeah,
actually.
that's August company to be in, but
Yeah.
so that was the first exposure to cinema, so to say, and watching a lot of those films, and then I went on to, like all Maharashtrian middle class boys, it was a choice between engineering and medicine, and I just chose engineering because it just seemed easier at that point. And when I went to the hostel, I was studying in Pune, a place called Baramati near Pune, and that is when the internet had like arrived and torrents were like a big deal, and that's where I was truly exposed to the films that inspire me. And around, I think, the second year of engineering is when I decided that I'm not going to do this and I'm going to do something else. And so I ended up being like the black sheep of a like family chock full of PhDs, and that was a very tough kind of decision for my parents as well as for overall society to kind of take. But I went on with it. I went to film school in Sydney, and I returned and I made my first feature, Pune 50. It was a neo-noir film. It was unheard of in Marathi as a genre. So it was very hard to find funding for that film. I went to around 50 financiers, established, non-established, uncle's uncle, friends, father-in-law. I tried every avenue that's possible. And finally, I think Girish Kulkarni was, who had signed on to act in the film, Umesh and him, they just said that, listen, you know what, we'll just produce it ourselves. And that's how the first film came to be. And since then, it's just been, it just happens. I think miraculously one fine day somebody decides to make the film and the film happens.
Right. I mean, of course, in your case, what's different is that while you're from Mumbai, that's where you operate from. Mumbai is the show business capital of India in many ways, but Mumbai is also the capital of Maharashtra, which is where Marathi cinema will come from eventually. Now, there is a Bollywood and there is Marathi cinema. How do they coexist in that same space?
They technically don't coexist. They really
Okay.
fight to coexist, and that's like for screens, for for audience gratification, for everything. I think it's
And
just
for
that-
producers as well?
For producers, for everything. I think it's very difficult. I think now the newer crop of Marathi filmmakers, Nagaraj, whether it's me, we've just decided to kind of start producing our own stuff. So Godavari we produced ourselves. It just gives us more control over how the film is to be released, over how the film is to be marketed. Otherwise, what happens, I think, which is probably the biggest challenge for Marathi cinema, is the fact that we have to compete with Hindi, now Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, all films in our kind of home ground.
What's the competition? Like, what
It's
is
for
the struggle?
screens. It's for basically for screens. We are predominantly in the theatrical business because the marketing budgets are limited. So, and of course the films don't have that kind of pull. Even a hardcore Marathi audience would prefer to watch a Hindi film on the first Friday, and that's
Have a choice.
yeah, so there's more choice, so the playing field is more like violent. But that said, I think things are looking up, and the good thing is that there is a constant inflow of good Marathi cinema that keeps this one film every 2 or 3 years that manages to kind of,
The sense I get in Kantara was, of course, in some ways a turning point. I think Bengali cinema is still waiting for a Kantara, sort of a Kantara moment. Was Sarat a moment for Marathi films in terms of how huge it became and how it was loved across the state and, of course, mainstream otherwise as well?
Absolutely. I think what Sairat did for Marathi cinema is that it made us aware of the fact that there is an audience that can
There's an inventory,
give.
right? You can make that kind of money.
And unlike Kantara, I think Sairat never really became a nationwide sensation. It did that business in Maharashtra alone. So we were just made aware of the fact that there is 100 crore audience for a Marathi film, which is Marathi people predominantly, which was unheard of. And now recently another Marathi film did around 80 crores. It's only in Maharashtra. It's Baipa and Bhari Deva. So I think it's just the fact that there is a ticket-paying audience of that volume in one state alone. And I think this holds true for all states in India.
Right,
That
right.
is just crazy that until Sairat, even the industry was not completely aware that there is this massive potential for a theatrical breakthrough, so to say. So yeah, it literally changed the game for Marathi.
How important do you think film school is, or film school education is, in order to be a director?
So I'm from a film school,
Yes.
and I went to a film school because my parents laid like a condition that if you don't like study properly, we won't let you do this. So that's why I went. And Whistling Woods was very expensive.
Are you happy with the fact that you did?
I am extremely happy.
Okay.
And I think the fact that I went to a film school made it little easy for me to pitch my film, because people took me a little seriously, because I had never assisted anybody. I never have assisted anybody.
And at least you had a diploma film with you.
Yeah.
To show for
So,
it.
so the very first film set, professional film set that I walked on was my own. I have never assisted, and I could pull that off because I had film school experience. In terms of film grammar, I think it's the same. But what I did learn, and I learned because I studied in Australia, is that all my classmates were from different countries, and I got exposed to a lot of culture.
Right.
And I got exposed to a lot of international films that I may not have had I started off just assisting in Bombay. So that's probably.
So
the
you're
only
saying
part.
film school essential, you were saying...
No, I'm not saying essential.
It was
I
good.
think
It worked for
me.
you. It worked for you, yes. And you gave the reason why it worked for you, yeah.
I don't think anything is essential, but film schools do help a lot. Just
Yeah.
as you said.
I'm glad you're saying that, because this has also, there are the professors of Satyajit Ray, FTII also here, and you're from Calcutta.
Yeah.
You need to go back to your city, so you should say nice things about film school education.
Of course, I must. But like if you're not coming from a film background, so getting to know what happens in a film.
Right, practical experience. Right.
Both practical experience and the wider picture. That you get very easily in a film school. But what you should not do in a film school, which a lot of people do, is concentrating fully on theory. You need to concentrate on the practice.
And the real world. Right?
Absolutely.
It may not be what's happening in the classroom.
But whether you go to film school or not, the how to make a film, that you actually learn on the job. Because then you're dealing with actual real difficulties which happen when you go out of film school. Like in film school, your film is going to be made. Like तुम्हारा budget बंद नहीं हो जाएगा. If you have shot for say more number of days, it won't stop. But outside you will have to face those challenges.
Right.
You will have to do it in a constraint. Which
And
is
you have
not
to
very-
pitch and all those things.
Absolutely.
That they can't teach
You have to convince another person to invest in your film.
Right.
So those are the actual realities of making a film.
Right.